All right, we're back with episode 94 of The Bench, where Growl and I are still on Belo'ren. Now, Squishy, Growl last week asked me, so what actually makes Belo'ren hard? I've been doing research on this fight, and it just looks easy. I don't feel like there's anything that can possibly wipe you. As somebody who has killed the fight, why don't you explain to the audience what makes this fight really hard?
Dude, everything. Everything sucks on this fight. Well, where to begin? Well, first of all, you need to kill the egg. And the egg patterns are completely random. I don't know if you've got this yet, Tuttles, but we had one where one half literally just got single slices almost the entire way, and they were back and forth.
Yeah.
So our burn was one of the worst, was like 41%. And our best burn, where we didn't have to move, was like 31% or something. So you have some RNG there. But honestly, the fight is just like insanely difficult. I think one of the most unfair mechanics is the fact that color swaps don't occur at the start or the end of the cast all the time. The colors swap mid-cast at random times, and like you have to protect the boss from the orbs, and you don't know when you're getting swapped. Like, I don't know how that's fair.
What I told Growl that I thought was actually the most difficult thing is that all 20 raiders have to be participating in 100% of the mechanics at all times. And basically, if people aren't actively going out of their way to try to participate in the mechanics, you just have a much more challenging fight. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it requires a lot of initiative as well. Like, if orbs are coming nearby, you just have to go out of your way to soak them. Even if you're not assigned, like, if there were assignments, like full-on computational assignments, I believe Belo'ren would have so many computational assignments that just aren't possible anymore. Because it just requires, like you said, everyone to do their part, and orbs going by, you can't you can't call, oh, so and so, you can call yellow go soak, but that requires them to have their knowledge of their color. It requires them to know which one you're talking about and like where to soak. It just requires everyone to be on point.
Dude, I'm pretty sure last Wednesday I had like the worst raid night I've maybe had in like 5 years, where something about this stupid ass color swap, just occasionally your brain, you just turn into a pumpkin and you just forget what color you have and you just run into the wrong color ball and you're like, why did I just do that? And I feel like everybody has those moments where it's especially true that one person, if they keep dying over and over again, they can just grief you. Like, I don't know. So Growl, having actually pulled the boss now, how do you feel about this fight?
Yeah, so for context, because I'm still trying to remember, because this week has been a whirl. We'll have a lot of news to go over, but basically, I've been trying to be a bit more deliberate in my preparation for raid, and not just be like, oh, like, this is a soak and this is this, right? Like, physically sit down and watch the boss video and spend like 30 minutes to an hour. And I was doing this for Belo'ren, was our next guilds fight, and I just didn't quite understand. Like, I just didn't get it. Like, I just didn't get what made it hard. And so I'm like, let me find somebody else who plays range DPS on this fight to maybe understand, who's in like, a close somewhat guild. And so I talked to Tuttles about it. I'm like, this fight looks easy and stupid as hell. He's like, oh no, just wait. Like, this is not going to be easy.
It's not easy.
And so I think for me, it's like, it has to do with the pacing of the mechanics too. Like, things happen like really, really, really fast. Like, for example, right on pull, the boss does like a bunch of AoE damage to the point where like our Disc Priest is like blowing a gasket every time a Boomkin pulls the boss early with Wrath because he doesn't have his ramp ready. And then as soon as that happens, there's the soaks. And so there's like assigned immunities, and then if the person with the immunity gets it, then you need to call for a backup, and you're like, you're literally like full sprint from the middle of the room to the end of the edge of the room at the start of the fight, every single fight. And then right after that, there's like kicks. I didn't notice the kicks, by the way. That was, I think, the big one for me, was the fact that the ads have color-coded kicks and only certain people can, and it just like basically wipes your rate if it ever goes off. That is a really, really, really tough one.
Squishy, did you guys wipe to like letting the ads revive an abnormally large amount of the time?
Yeah.
Oh my
ads were a
God.
problem for us. So we had the first issue with the ads was the kicks. We struggled with kicks like a lot. We wiped to kicks a lot. And the solution for us, as stupid as it was just to call the kicks, like verbally, and just go light, void, and then we stopped missing kicks after that. It was crazy. Like, and the funny thing is, like, we'll talk about add-ons, but if there was an add-on kick tracker, that thing would have made so much easier. But yes, specifically the second set in the second phase, that ad set would not fucking die. We had to commit Frost Mage cooldowns to it.
Dude, like, I swear to God, it's one of those things that, like, our GM keeps linking, like, casts on the boss whenever the ads are casting revive. And if we have people that are casting either 2 or 3 spells on the boss while the eggs are casting this revive, it is like we are missing this check consistently. Now, I do think we aren't playing a particularly good comp for this boss. Holy shit, is this boss like it is genuinely, I don't know if I've seen a fight where it is 20 player participation in this manner in a very long time. The fight that I think that maybe is the most closely akin to it is like Maiden of Virtue from Tuma Sargeras. If people have played for that long, where that was like this ball soaking mechanic where pretty much everybody had to be participating in a way that, and if you messed it up, you just immediately wiped your entire raid. And like that, this is how Belo'ren feels too, where it is, it's very technical. If one person messes up, you're completely toast, and there is a hard DPS check on this fight.
I am convinced that if somebody paves the way for a 3-phase, the fight is not as bad.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe.
like straight up convinced that is the case.
Well, actually,
the problem is nobody wants to do it.
What does a 3-phase even do? Like,
it was confirmed on an interview with Max. The 3rd phase is identical to the 2nd phase.
Oh, well, okay. Here are my thoughts.
Identical? I thought he said it was like a numbers thing, like it did more damage or a bigger.
No, it's the exact same, but you have 5% less healing because it's just another phase.
My guild's been wiping to shit in the 2nd phase over and over again. We're not even making it to the 2nd egg that frequently.
But you'd be +1 healer.
I mean, to be fair, I said this
What's the healer
about
gonna do?
the raid. Bro, these top guilds make some of the fights look so easy. And so when everyone was like, oh, this guild is going to be free, or this boss is going to be free now after the nerfs, like...
Did anybody say that about Belo'ren?
No,
I'm pretty sure everybody knew that Belo'ren was going to be hard.
I think both... Well, I think after the nerfs, I heard a lot of people saying about how they gutted the boss. Also, also Illyria. Like, I think Illyria was not a super easy... Like, I think Illyria was a good fight, and it wasn't quite, like, penultimate boss level, but I think Illyria, like... Yeah. It was just so funny. I was listening to Rival Podcast with Roger Brown, which banger episode, by the way. It's basically just, Roger and Max talking about the race. But it was funny to hear them talk about how easy Crown of the Cosmos was.
Yeah.
And Dratnos is just kind of sitting there in the corner because literally, like, within an hour, he had released a guide video that was 30 minutes long of him talking about the encounter. So to be like, Max was just like, yeah, so P1 was super easy. We just walked in and one-shot it the first time. Meanwhile, Dratnos is talking about it for like 15 minutes about all the intricacies of P1. And it's like, yeah, when you're in some super mega guild that knows everything and like everyone's very cool. Like, I think there's just a big difference between playing with those, like, not only people who are good and who can adapt quickly, but also people who are just like willing to like think about the raid group and make sacrifices for the raid group.
I didn't think Cosmos was particularly hard, but it's not like...
I wouldn't say particularly hard, but I think I actually like, so far, I feel like the raid scaling and difficulty in fights is like really, really, really good.
Yeah.
Like now that I've finished Crown and I've also done like had some pulls on Belo'ren, like I feel like the difficulty ramp felt great for our guild.
I stand strongly by the fact that I don't think this is a fight that is supposed to be as hard as it is. Realistically, it's because, like, my guild, we probably should have killed this boss Tuesday. We very much should have killed this boss Wednesday, and somehow we didn't even kill it in 3 raid nights this week that we probably were supposed to kill it, because it is so... If people aren't on their A game individually, one person can completely halt your progression. There is no way of recovering it. It is a boss that is unbelievable.
The number of times we wiped going into the 2nd egg phase because we're finally here, then a kick misses. On our kill pull, our Warlock forgot the gateway into the second egg phase, so all of us got knocked up. We all had to blink in and like run in, and we still managed to kill the boss with 2 seconds left. It was so funny.
We didn't Hunter's Mark the fucking boss during the 2nd egg burn one time on a pull that would have been a kill. Like, 50 pulls ago, and now we're 50 pulls later without the boss dead.
Yeah. That's why it's also funny to compare pull counts and guilds and stuff, because it just feels like there is a whole lot of variance with stuff like that, right? Like sometimes you just get lucky and the right people get the right mechanics or the right overlaps, and it's like, you know, your guild can have a crazy tier or an amazing tier, and like sometimes, like, you know that feeling when like you re-clear a boss and it's just the worst shit ever, and you're like, what the, you like you almost take as long on re-clear as you did on prog, and you're like, maybe we just got lucky when we killed this boss.
I am doing like a fucking Pac-Man cosplay. I am soaking so many goddamn orbs in bear form on this fight. This fight, it is unbelievable.
I would love to see somebody who's going to take the time to try to 3-phase it. Because I'm internally convinced it is easier.
Okay, here's the counterpoint. What would actually make 3-phasing it be easier? Like what would
you soak correctly instead of using immunities on it?
The 20-player group?
Mostly 20. Like you soak the dives.
Yeah.
Because you have an extra healer, so you soak the dives, which means that you don't have to blow immunities on those. You have more immunities for the orbs, which means you have less people actually trying to soak during the bullshit color swaps. You have more healers for the healing absorb.
Whose immunities were you using on the orbs?
Hunters. That's the standard strategy.
Yeah, we're using hunters and the mages with ice cold. Like, was that not what you guys were using?
On the what?
The hunters every single time they were on the Voidlight dive.
Oh, the dive? No, we're just using mages, and then the Og.
Well, that's what you're saying. You say you have additional immunities from what?
Because what are the biggest challenges is right before is the bounce back, right? You know about the bounce back. The orbs hit the other side, they start bouncing back and trying to get the boss.
I mean, that's annoying.
You have a fuck ton of extra immunities, and you could just have like a hunter or a mage with ice cold just walk through them, and then you never have to worry about the bounce back.
Okay, sure. I mean, dude, I don't know. Like, I feel like my guild, we don't comp stack, we don't do splits. It's
a tough fight.
Fuck, I wish we had another hunter, man. Like, oh my god, I wish we had another hunter.
Do you know what the worst part about this is? I think this fight, the DPS check is going to get even harder next week.
What?
Windwalker's getting nerfed by 20% on the egg phase.
Oh, we don't have those anyways.
Oh, okay, okay, you're fine. August like a 2% nerf. Marks is apparently getting utterly destroyed on when swapping targets. I mean, you're getting 1% more damage plus turbo boost shit, so like it'll probably even out. But if you're not using Windwalker, then it doesn't matter. The Windwalker nerf is by far the worst part.
We'll probably be better off with the gear that we get. Yeah, like I don't know. we don't have any of those. I mean, we don't have the luxury of bringing those green men to our raid.
The worst part about this is you have Belo'ren, which you said everyone needs to lock in. It just kills them. You get to Lura. Everybody needs to lock in because one person fucking up kills your entire raid.
I mean, okay, you say it just kills them. I'm going to contest that the fact, like, even though it just kills them, it technically kills the entire raid. It kills your entire raid because you're missing your damage check. Like, there's no winning the moment that somebody dies.
I mean, I do agree with that.
I do think the bear getting nerfed. What is up with the bear changes? Is it weird patch notes?
Bear should be basically not getting changed. It's just kind of they're swapping the Apex second and third point or something like that.
I see. Okay, so it's poorly written patch notes. Is that what's going on with that?
I guess.
I don't know. Their patch notes made it sound like they were getting nerfed, but
according to pumps, they're not.
Okay, well, GG. Yeah, so the fight is definitely interesting. It feels very, very much like Styx Bunk Junker in a way, where it's just like, wow, this is a fight that's probably not supposed to be hard. That's hard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like the whole overwhelming immunity things, but I don't know. I think it's an okay fight. I like it because the duration is not long. Like, I think I'm trying to remember. I always get Sprocket. I was going to compare it to Sprocket actually, where Sprocket is like a pretty hard fight, but also it was over fast, right? Like it was a dance fight, but it wasn't super long compared to like Queen's Court or Silken Court or whatever it's called, right? Which is like a 10-minute penultimate dance fight where you have like all these, a 15-part raid plan or whatever, and it's just like those are the ones that really get to me. But I've been enjoying the difficulty scaling of the raid. I think that they've done a good job, at least for my current guild, which is all I can speak for. But I think we're like, I don't want to use the word average because average doesn't really make sense in this context. But like, there are a lot of guilds that raid Mythic that are similar to us, and I feel like they're in similar pull
You're a
counts as
You're a
well.
Hall of Fame guild. I mean,
Yeah.
If Blizzard doesn't want to nerf the boss anymore, I do think they need to do one change, just a quality of life change, which is either make the color swaps occur at the start of the cast or the end of the cast, and just make it consistent.
Start
The
is
fact that
so
it could-
much easier than the
I mean,
end. By
right
the way.
right now, it's like the second you swap, you are assigned to soak immediately because you can no longer be swapped again. And if you don't get swapped, you're sitting there like, I might get swapped, I can't soak. Like, I think I died like 4 or 5 times to like, I thought I was safe, and then I swapped right before I hit an orb, and I'm just like, I guess I should have left that for somebody else. Like,
Yeah. There's definitely moments where you're like, you soak an orb and you're like, well, it was either it hits the boss and we wipe, or I soak it and I die, and you're like,
Yeah,
like,
maybe
I think that's the only change that I think I want to see. Is it just feels a little unfair. Like, they talk about affordance the entire time. I don't know that there's much affordance on that ability. When you can get swapped at any time and have to soak a bunch, like, what, 10 plus orbs at the same time as a raid.
maybe we haven't gotten to that part of the fight, or maybe this is Drogo's 5-head, but from like basically pull 1, we got the lecture of like the hardest part of the fight is when like you're about to color change, and so right before a color change is about to happen, we'll like someone will comms it, and then we'll like be extremely aggressive with soaking as many as possible right before it goes out, and then we just say no soaking during the color change unless it's the tanks like
Yes.
diving for it.
That is normal. The one I'm talking about is the end of the intermission.
Okay, so there's a specific very, very hard one coming.
Yeah, because
okay.
everybody's just come off DPSing. Your tank soaked 3 because they also want to DPS. And so the remainder of the 18 orbs on each side are bouncing back at the boss. And nobody can pre-soak because you just got off of hitting the boss while there's a color change going on. It's bullshit.
yeah. I mean, they're the fight, like the fight is whatever. I'm not talking about the fight. All right.
I don't know, man. I love progging his DPS. I feel like I just don't have these feelings. Like,
I'm having fun. No.
There like hasn't been a boss fight that I've been like annoyed by. Like, because the thing is, as a healer, I feel like a lot of times the optimization of what you're doing isn't. Well, it's not that it doesn't matter, but it feels like it doesn't matter, right? Like eventually you're just, like you can do better parses or whatever, but ultimately, like, you couldn't have done anything to save that pull. But for some reason, like as a DPS, you just every little bit of damage matters, and even if like I'm not the person wiping the raid or I'm not the person that's causing the problems, I can still get better and better. And there's this back and forth of like, I'm trying to do that, but I'm also really trying to be consistent and not wipe my raid and not be a monkey. And yeah, I don't know. I haven't really had any problems with the raid. Another interesting thing is the lockout situation, right? We talked about this last time. Another implication that I'm seeing is now, correct me if I'm wrong, we can extend Belo'ren, right? We can extend Belo'ren and still farm all the other bosses for loot, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Great, honestly.
I don't know if you necessarily need it, but yeah, definitely something you can do.
Yeah, massive loot injection tomorrow.
I mean, holy shit, tomorrow is gonna be crazy. Okay, so let's start talking about what's actually going on. Blizzard has graced us with insane amounts of content this week. I guess, what do we want to start with? I mean, Squishy was kind of tiptoeing around the Max Scott interview with the developers.
We've talked about everything at this point. We've hinted at all of it.
Yeah, so we got cool stuff. So we have Blizzard announced new title cutoffs for Mythic Plus, which I think is sick. There's stuff with the bonus rolls. You can also buy it with Great Vault currency, which is insane. Lindormi's Glow is now being added to keys that are higher than just like a +4 if you want it. Obviously, you don't have to use it, but you can turn it on. Growl, you have any preference for where we start?
Let's slowly build up. Let's talk about some of the basic stuff. So the glow changes. A lot of people have talked about that idea. Like they've pitched around like letting you do it higher, letting it be optional. Even as far as like customizable. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but I just find it funny that they added the Lindormi thing in the early keys, but then they also made it so this was like the easiest freaking season of all time. So like you literally don't even spend time at this level, right? Like the level with which they made the Lindormis thing, I would say the average person probably does like under 5 keys for sure, and maybe even exactly one key in this level before they upgrade their key, and then they never go back here again, which is like it. They kind of like, I mean, maybe there's this thriving environment of people doing 2s and 3s and 4s, but I have a feeling that literally nobody is using this affix. They're like, okay, well, we did all this work and created this thing. Now let's actually like put it to use.
I mean, this is, you can check that with Raider.io stats. There's not a thriving community of people who are doing 3s. like the majority of the people who are doing keys is 10s. I think that this, to me, being able to turn this on at specific keystone levels, I think is fantastic. The moment that it's customizable, I think, is the moment that pretty much everybody uses it. Like, if they can somehow implement something similar to MDT in game and then allow you to like mark mobs or mark packs, that's when people really start to use it, because it just makes everything easier to understand. Like, what are we going to be pulling? And especially in no voice pugs, like, you can get everybody on the same page the moment that the thing is customizable. The thing where it's like this one-size-fits-all solution where Blizzard has determined your route makes it a little bit awkward, in my opinion, for pug groups, because they, sometimes that route that Blizzard might be giving you is suboptimal for whatever reason. I'm trying to think of a good example from this season where, like, what would be like a suboptimal Blizzard route? Maybe something like Mysaris Caverns. Like, you're looking to try to avoid some landmine type of mobs. Maybe you don't have a purge in your comp and you want to avoid some of those mobs that have the shields on them or something like that. And so your tank is like cooking up a route that plays without a purge. Like,
well,
that's good, but this isn't
at that point though. Like, has
that.
science gone too far? Like, if they develop a system where every single group that's doing Mythic Plus has every single correct mob glowing and every like, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, is that the game that we want to play? Like, do you see Blizzard doing that? It's kind of hinting towards something they talk about in the Scott interview, which we'll get to later. But I just, as much as in my head, I think, oh, that would be so cool if everybody could do that. I just think that's not a direction that Blizzard's going to go, where all of us, because essentially, right, what you're saying is like, it's going to become the expectation if they put in a customizable route thing that literally every single Mythic Plus keystone you do for the rest of WoW's existence, the right mobs are going to glow and there's going to be right and wrong mobs to pull. And I just don't, like, I feel like that's a rabbit hole is good. I don't know if Blizzard will go down that.
Counterpoint, I think there already are right and wrong mobs and packs to pull. The problem is sometimes it's hard to tell what the pack is, especially if it's like your first time running that route.
Well, right, but that's the point of the thing, right? Like, the point of the thing is they want you to do the dungeons and learn, not for there to be stop and go traffic lights on every mob that tells you whether or not to pull it. Like, that's not the game. The game is you fight the mobs and you see what they do and you learn, or you get that wisdom from somebody else, not you plug it into an import code and then the game puts giant red X's over all the guys that you're not supposed to fight. You know what I mean?
I mean, it feels like we already have that, though, yeah?
No.
Not fully.
Is the map less egregious than marking the mobs?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty, like, Blizzard seems to shy away from anything that directly dictates what a player should and should not do in terms of a choice in game. They like with talents, they provide you with the starter talents, but like those things aren't great. Most people probably don't use it, but it's just a starting point.
Well, also, it's very much meant to be training wheels that are not left on, right? Like, I made the comment about why don't you just allow this to be toggleable on and off on whatever key? But even then, right, like, even then you might say, okay, like, Blizzard doesn't want you to always use this. They're like, this is literally just a means of, this is my first time stepping into M+. Like, they only want it to be used for so many keys before you go on to play the actual game, you know?
Take it like example. Let's say Blizzard comes up with a great UI, creates MDT. You're allowed to customize your route, that kind of thing. You join a group in LFG. Maybe it takes 30 minutes. Nobody's gonna say a fucking word. You don't need to communicate route anymore. You don't need to say anything. You just put the keystone in, and everything is just there. Like, from that point of view, is that actually helping the community? This is like it depends your definition of what Mythic Plus is supposed to be, but from a social point of view, while it is probably good for efficiency, it's probably really bad for the social gameplay. Because as of right now, there's still some basic questions to be asked. You know, how many subjugators are you pulling in the first pull? You know, that kind of like, you know, are you pulling pack 87? You know, this is kind of, you know, are we doing the third boss of seat without pulling the corner pack? You know, like there's a lot of different things that socially could still come. Like I'm just playing devil's advocate here a little of why they might not be wanting to do this.
I will say, like, I think a lot of that stuff is already a part of the base game right now. I think that even if this was added into the base game, it's gonna glow the mobs that you're supposed to pull. You still need to know the pull sequencing and like the knowing pull patterns at the beginning of the dungeon. That's still going to need to be said, right? Like at least the tank is going to need to link the route, which is the exact same thing that the tank is doing already. I guess that there is a bit more tension then on the group of the tank being expected to have a route pre-installed basically into his, you know, Blizzard approved planner, which maybe there is something to be said that could be kind of fucking annoying, which valid, hard to argue against. I was just talking about it from like it would make doing dungeons, especially early on in the season, whenever you're trying to learn, a lot easier. And I think that barrier of information has always been something that makes it pretty hard to do M+. And I don't know if like being like, yeah, this was the pack that you had planned on pulling really is that egregious, but I do understand the counterpoint.
Well, you use the word plan, but really this is Yoda's Pug 12 route that I imported, and at that point you don't even have to look at the map, right? Like you just literally import the code from Yoda ! Routes, and then you just start the key, right? Like you don't even have to know what the mobs do or what they are.
Yeah, I'm not saying people are already kind of doing that though, right?
Sort of. I mean, I'm not saying it couldn't make the game better. I'm more saying that I don't think Blizzard would do that. Like I think creating a world where the game basically like just has highlights over what you're supposed to fight and not fight, like that would be kind of surprising for that to just be every single dungeon that you do.
Was it a thing in Fellowship?
Highlighted mobs?
I don't think so, but maybe.
Okay. No. Like I think the other argument you could make, like from the other point of view, is that like there is an aspect of skill of knowing the route. It is an expertise, something that you can master. You know, the difference between a good tank who knows the route and a medium tank who doesn't know the newest route is a level of skill that some people enjoy. Now, obviously, like this is just me playing devil's advocate. I think this would be a great addition to the game. It would help me doing my weekly 10s and 12s, and I'm pushing some 16s now. Like I think it would be good for the game, but from a game design standpoint, I don't know how Blizzard sees it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I want to discuss. Like there's a lot of reasons that they might not want to add this after all.
It is interesting from a game design perspective. I like as a player, it like especially like no voice keys. I think no voice keys, it would make it so much easier to, especially early on in the season, to have everybody on the same page of like what mobs are we pulling? Because like I don't think it doesn't tell you what the mobs do. It doesn't like it's not like playing the game for you. I just think that like having on the screen be like, yeah, these are the mobs that you should pull, like, or that you actually pre-selected that you should pull would be nice, but there is something that is lost in there. There's definitely some skill expression that is taken away, which is something I hadn't considered.
Yeah, also like with and I know like the pug people in the comments are gonna hate this, but I think the game is more fun with friends, and the game should incentivize you to play with friends. And so the more and more and more things we strip away and make it so, you can, like, is it really good that you can go into a +21 key with no voice and no communication and no plan and no route and just be able to do the key? Like, yeah. I know everyone is just nodding their head. Yes, I would love that. Well, get good because you suck. That's the reason you can't do a 21. It has nothing to do with the game. But also, I just think that like there should be some, like the fact that you're playing with your tank buddy and how your tank buddy pulls, and that means that the mobs that are being pulled and exactly when you can start pressing your buttons and you're doing the most amount of damage because you're playing with your tank buddy. Like I think that's valuable and they should keep that to some extent. But yeah, I think everyone just
you want to know the most base thing of all time?
What's that?
Look at this shit. the top run in the world, it's a Mysara Caverns 21. The #1 run for score currently is a run done by Monksy, Xenon, far over Tom Elvis, and Turbo Gronil. Something that is actually important about this run is that it was done no voice. They did no comms in time this run. Absolutely unbelievable. And also, they played a pretty garbage comp, I'm going to be completely honest.
I mean, Arms Warrior
comp
is broken. What do you mean?
Yeah, Arms Warrior's broken. They are carrying an Outlaw Rogue. I don't know what this guy is here for. The vibes, I guess. They timed this by typing in party chat. Look at this shit in the top left. They're literally talking about everything in party chat. They don't play in comms.
Hey, I'm still shocked that the WoW player base is so against typing in chat. I still don't get that. I've harped on it before. I still don't understand it. But good for these
one
guys.
thing I don't even remember where I heard this, but it might have even been on the pod, but it was the idea that everybody's chat is like so different. Like there's no unified, this is what everybody's chat looks like. And the in-game default chat is actually like kind of dog shit, right? Like if you customize your chat and like set up a tab where it's like, okay, this is only the party members in my group right now, and it doesn't show these random things, then everyone would use it. But I feel like a majority of people's chat is probably just dog shit and they can barely even read it while they're playing anyway, because it's putting random stuff from communities or stuff they're in, or like showing stuff that drops or achievements or whatever, right? So
look at this Arms Warrior, by the way. This guy's putting up a fucking triple-double, and we got bench players in our lineup, like over here with this Feral Druid and this Outlaw Rogue.
Arms Warrior's broken. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, Arms is crazy. I don't know about the rest of the comp, but the Arms is crazy. I'm surprised that their comp is tanky enough to be able to facilitate a Restoration Shaman. That was something that actually surprised me a little bit, but whatever. Beast. Absolute beasts. But yeah, no, that was something that I saw this week that I thought was really, really
That's
cool.
sick.
Yeah, these guys are cool.
Is Mythic Plus feels, because I've been going up a little because of the new achievement, which we're about to talk about, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
But the thing I want to ask is, going up, are keys just heavily limited by damage intake and healing again? Because it feels like timing the keys is just so easy in terms of the DPS checks and like the overall timer.
Yeah. So
but the healing is struggling.
The timer in every single dungeon is absolutely free. And if you play with the healer who has a working monitor and a keyboard that is connected and a mouse that is connected, then it can be pretty easy. If you were playing with a healer who struggles with what are multiple of those aspects, it might be a bit of a challenge. I was plugging a Skyreach 17, and I don't think I realized that like my Augmentation Evoker pretty much has Life Bloom on me 24/7 in most keys that I'm doing in a coordinated group. But that was a reality check. I was like, oh my god, I'm getting Life Bloom on cooldown, or I'm getting Life Bloom all the time.
Yeah. So this is my tip of the week for pugging and trying to do high keys to get your 1% title. Is you might not realize what makes it so easy for every group. And you're seeing tons of these groups play, and they have a Devourer, Demon Hunter, and an Unholy Death Knight, and both of those classes are invulnerable. So if you have those two classes, and then you have one more DPS as a healer, then you just keep that guy alive, and then you keep yourself alive as a healer, and then you worry about the tank if they're in trouble, right? And so if you're playing keys, and if you're like, yeah, all the DPS are similar, I'm just going to invite, I'm going to get an MM Hunter because those classes are kind of good, and let's invite a mage. Mage is still fine, and what else should we get? Let's get an Ellie Shaman. My friend pumps on that, right? You're going to get fucking slaughtered. And so having tanky defensive classes is actually like mega, mega, mega important. And I'm so happy, by the way, I didn't even think about this until Squishy said this. The idea that there's going to be a surge of like pretty good people now coming into M+ to try and get this title that otherwise wouldn't care. Welcome to how miserable and how insane defensive creep has gotten, and everyone gets to experience it. So one of the things that we're learning, because I've been playing with some people and doing like, entering the 18 to 19 realm now, and basically every single time that we wipe to a boss or something goes wrong, we just sit down and play defensive Tetris and then figure out, okay, I ice cold here, okay, you use here, okay, healer tranks here, and then we go in and then the boss just dies, and it was the easiest thing we've ever done. And it's like, knowing little things, like for example, the the third boss of Seat, the worms that come up exactly every minute. So if you have a 1 minute defensive, you should always press it on CD every time the worms come up, and any 1 minute damage cooldowns, use them on cooldown on the worms every time. And that makes the fight go from seemingly impossible to the easiest thing that you've ever done.
Yeah. Okay, real talk. Why is Devour Demon Hunter so fucking tanky? Like
Leech. Okay, so it's damage
okay,
intake.
it's not only Leech though.
I think
They take the
I think it's mostly
they have
Leech.
some kind of defensive benefit, I swear, because I was watching Max go over like who should carry your seeds on Lura, and Devour is like the number one choice, not only because they're healing, they take less percentage damage from the seed dot over anyone else. So
Well,
it feels like like, remember the DKs when they were just immortal? That's what it feels like all over again.
Well, they have tattoos. I mean, that's been a thing for Demon Hunter forever.
And you have meta too, right? Like a big thing is you can actually like Psycho and Evader are both really good at metaing mechanics, and so like being able to meta off like a really really nasty debuff is like insane.
I saw the same thing. I think that the thought process was Leech plus you have natural DR from decreased magic damage taken from tattoos, and then it's you have Shift. So you have the best mobility.
Oh, Shift is fucking insane. Oh my god.
You have the best mobility button in the game. I don't know about Eldrachi Reaver having any additional defensive benefits. I think it has second blur charge.
Eldrachi?
Or not Eldrachi. Annihilator. Sorry.
Oh.
I think Annihilator has like second blur charge. I think is what their defensive benefit is, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it comes down to the damage intake pattern, where a lot of it is magic damage dots, and as it turns out, Death Knight and Demon Hunter are absolutely buku broken versus constant damage dot ticks. If you know, the Demon Hunter started having like real EHP checks where they're getting one shot spammed at them, that's where they can actually be vulnerable. In this current damage pattern that we see in Midnight Season 1, they are just gods. And it's through natural play, too. They're just always in void meta. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yep. All right.
Okay. I think that's a good segue to talk about what I would consider the biggest news of the week. The announcement of... So basically, they created not one, but two very compelling layers in between KSM and... or the 3K score and 0.1%. And so one of the biggest problems and complaints that I've had about the current expansion is the gearing and progression for a lot of people is going to feel really, really underwhelming. Like, it's great if you're somebody who struggled getting 3K or didn't have that much time or whatever, but for a lot of people, like, getting 3K and getting AOTC is something that you do every season. And I feel like this season was going to fall short for a lot of those people, but they've added two new sort of checkpoints now for Mythic Plus. One at 3,400 rating, which is what, like timed 16s and 17s, and one
16s.
which is the top 1% of players, which it's hard to know what that'll look like, right? Because no one's ever competed for that before. But so now if you reach 3,400 rating, you get sort of like a token or a resource thing that lets you buy. I'm assuming it's just like in any of the old KSM mounts. So if you're a mount collector that missed out, they said they left room, I think, to like maybe they put mounts on that vendor or other things. Yeah, so they left themselves room to do stuff, but I would imagine that a majority of them are going to, because it says that you can only earn one of these tokens per season, I don't think they're going to put a whole ton of new mounts on there, right? Because everyone needs to have everything in current year. So I think that this is going to be mostly a means of like getting old mounts. And then also they added this 1% title, which they claim to have a new exclusive mount for the people that reach the top 1% of players in Mythic Plus rating. So how do you guys feel about this one?
Dude, this might be one of the best and hypest like announcements almost across the entire community. And I say almost, but yeah, like
dude, not that.
like overall, I think people are super fucking excited about this.
I mean, dude, especially I feel like the people of our audience also are the people that this is made for. This is, you know, the Mythic Plus enthusiast who likes doing Mythic Plus. You know, you like pushing a little bit past the weekly Keystone level, but you never really had anything to push for. At the same time, going for the rank 1 title is just, you know, a grind that you don't really see in your future. Now, the 3,400 one, that's something that's like seasonal that you can get. It takes a little bit of time Takes a few weeks of gear. You need some vaults. It's not going to be something that comes to you very easily this season. Maybe in future seasons, 3,400 becomes like kind of a cakewalk, kind of like 3K is now. If 3,400, like they said, though, they do move it to kind of represent a similar skill level of difficulty and progression. Absolutely fantastic. This is a slam dunk change. The 1% title is something that they give to players that will give them a season-long kind of achievement. This is kind of like the cutting-edge equivalent, I would say, for Mythic Plusers. And I think that this is just absolutely badass. This has been something that we've been wanting forever, to continue to incentivize players to push more, where those hobby enthusiast Mythic Plus levels, where they want to keep pushing, where they get something, a tangible reward out of the game. Now, something that we've been talking about is like, the lowering of replayability from the season to season. And I think that this actually helps kind of curb that a little bit, because then it's giving you something to kind of chase. It's no longer like this huge gap between I'm doing weekly keys or I got 3KO and I can push for the rank 1 title. Now there's actually something in the middle. And I think that middle ground is very, very important.
This is so good, man. Like, I was like, I don't know if people are going to be happy about this, but I am, and everybody seems pretty hyped about it. I know there was a lot of reactions on social media, in Discords, like, having something to strive for, like, it doesn't need to be much, but having something to strive for is just going to incentivize a lot of people. Like, I've already started pushing. There's no way I would have done 16s yesterday if this thing hadn't come out.
I got a nice new reward, or a nice new goal for my 0 to Hero series on my Holy Priest. It's 16. Blizzard blessed me. I was trying to figure out like what level I was even supposed to do, but Blizzard has determined what I needed. Thank you.
Yep. I think the reward mismatch in M Plus was so felt this expansion, because I'll be honest, like when it comes to gear, you get so much gear from M Plus for so little effort, right? Like I'm somebody who has always complained about raiders and raid gear, but I mean Mythic Plus gearing is like the craziest it's ever been now, right? Where basically you're getting bonus roll tokens that you can roll pieces of myth track loot from dungeons and be able to like target farm essentially specific trinkets and rings and stuff. Like Mythic Plus loot is crazy, but at the same time you get it so easily. There's no investment in getting good at the dungeons or doing hard content. You're just slamming 10s, and this sort of aligned perfectly with a reward for doing things that are challenging, that is compelling, that people are going to want. And while I'm always in favor of having it tied to the game and having it be gear, that's not the direction that WoW has gone in retail over the last couple expansions. And so having an actual exclusive mount is like basically the next best thing for me, right? So yeah, I'm really, really interested to see how this develops and what sort of people
this is like our audience. These are our people.
Yeah, right. These are our people. I kind of wonder if we're going to start to feel more and more vindicated about some of the things as this season goes on, because two things now that everyone tells me to shut the hell up about, that they're going to have to come to terms with now if they're doing challenging keys and competing with other people, is resilient keys and defensive creep, right? These are two things that I critique that I think don't make the game as good. And now a lot like where do you guys think that this title is going to end up? So let's say that to get 0.1% title, let's just say hypothetically you have all timed 23s.
Yeah.
That's 0.1% title. Where do you think the 1% title ends up? And factor in now that the resilient keys exist and sales exist.
So,
and people are going to want this mount.
I think sales are discussed a lot more than they actually happen in the real world. I think it is a talking point boogeyman that it is discussed a lot, but I think it is a very small portion of the population are willing to actually buy runs, because for most people, the enjoyment is the journey. It's not about just the achievement, although some people care just about the achievement. Most people are unwilling to buy runs. Now, sales, they are certainly a thing. Where do I think that people are going to land on defensive creep. I mean, I think that people who are doing keys that are at the 1% level, like I kind of, said it was going to be around, like it's like the cutting edge of Mythic Plus. And so I think that those people who are able to do it already know that defensive creep is like a huge deal.
I would say 20s. If it's 23s, I'd say 20s. Because I do think there's a subset of people who don't want to chase a moving goalpost. I'm probably one of those people. I feel pretty confident, just like, I think I'm going to go for the static 3400, push a little higher, and then I'll be good. I don't think it's probably going to go up too much higher than expected, but I do think it's going to increase because there's a reward there now for it. Also, kind of depends on the mount. If the mount is the sickest thing ever, I think a lot more people might be incentivized to go for it. If it's like an ugly ass mount that no one wants, then I don't know that people will be.
I mean, there are breakpoints. I mean, the rank 1 Mythic Plus title last season, the 4,000 rating cutoff. I think that this was like all dungeons at 21 and Priory of the Sacred Flame at 20 was like the cutoff for the title last season, where all dungeons at 17s were the top 1%. Now I do expect this to move up, the 1% title to move up a little bit. What would it move up? A keystone level, maybe? Like
I think
so.
My prediction is that it's going to move up significantly.
Really?
I think that the 1% title is going to be for sure under 2 levels less than title, and potentially might be only 1. I think that if title is all-time 23s, I think the 1% title will be 21s and 22s. That is my prediction. I don't know where we'll like where the title cutoff will land, but I think it'll be 1.5 to 1 key levels below 0.1% title. I think it will be that competitive.
Okay. Yeah, so we're making our predictions before the mount has been seen.
It was 4 last season. Again, there wasn't anything to push for, but for the record, it was 4. This is also, at least on NA, this was 10,000 characters last season.
I mean,
what would this have been? What would this have been in War Within Season 1? How many?
I was going to say, Growlithe 1, what is yours? I'm at like 3. I think it's going to be 3 levels lower than the highest.
I'm somewhere in between. I'm probably like 2.5.
You're 2.5. Okay.
I think I'm like 2.5. Yeah, like I think it'll be close. The problem is like I think that's something that's really good about this 1% title is I think it's always achievable in LFG. Something that's been really cringe about the rank 1 title is the rank 1 Mythic Plus title used to be achievable in LFG for a long time until they introduced resilient keys because of what the texture of resilience do to the rank 1 title. I do think that with something as broad as the 1% title, that's something that's always able to be done in LFG without abusing the resilience system. Now you can get a lot of benefit out of it. Well, don't get me wrong, but you don't have to abuse it because it's going to be like, again, 10,000 characters or something like that.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that it's an interesting comparison now, because you talked about we have the Glad mount, right? Everyone knows the Glad mount. Everyone knows the Mythic Raid mounts, and now we have the M Plus mount. But it's the M Plus is a weird combination of the two, which is why I'm sort of making my prediction here of it's PvE, right? So ultimately it'll only get easier as you get more geared, right? And it will never change. So the better the strats get, right? The easier it'll be. But at the same time, it's competitive. You are competing with other people. It's not as simple as just, okay, you kill the end Mythic Raid boss and then you get it, right? It's a combination
it's not static difficulty. Yeah.
Yes. It's you're competing, but it's PvE. It's what I would say, like, if they added a mount for Hall of Fame, how Hall of Fame would change, right? I think that would be a very interesting thing as well. And I think that, not to give them any ideas, but the difference though is that Hall of Fame requires you to have a guild, right? You have to have a team, whereas this 1% title, just if you play a lot or have people to play with a lot, then you can get it. Yeah, I mean, I'm still excited for it. I don't want what I'm saying to be like trying to get people to not go for it. I'm not trying to scare people off. I'm just trying to say, get ready for a lot of M plus and manage your expectations, right? Like,
that's fair.
So I kind of math this out on stream basically. And so there's this idea that, okay, it's the top 1% of players, but realistically, like, do you really even play the game if you're not doing 10s right now? Like, maybe like anybody who actually cares about doing Mythic Plus probably is doing 10s by now, or at least has some completed. And if you look, what 1% means is 1% of all characters. But anyway, the TLDR is realistically, it's about the top 7%. Right. So right now it's about the top 7% of players would be earning this top 1% title. This is like the top 1% of people that actually care. So if you think that you have it in you to be within that bracket of people, because keep in mind, like, this isn't, someone asked in my chat, won't it still be easy to get because this is going to bring a bunch of people to Mythic Plus, right? Like a bunch of new people are going to play Mythic Plus. So therefore the player pool is bigger. Therefore there's going to be more people in the 1%, but that's just not true, right? Like, it's just looking at all characters in the game of anybody that does a dungeon. Like, there's not going to be brand new characters coming into M+. Like, there might be a little bit, but it's not going to noticeably impact how many slots there are in the 1%.
I think something that you said, you need to temper your expectations. If you're going for a season-long title, let me just say, it's not easy.
Too.
Like, as somebody who, whenever I get the rank 1 titles, that shit is hard. I didn't even get the rank 1 title from last season because Fellowship and TFT came out back to back, and I decided that I didn't want to go from 20s to 21s, which is what it took to get the title. Like, a season-long grind is season-long. Like, just know that.
Yeah, actually the same. I noticed that when I was looking back and comparing numbers, that I was like pretty well into title range on my Hunter, and I was like full biz geared, and I actually finished 50 points below the title cutoff because it had just gone up so much in the last like 3 months of the season or whatever after I quit. And now, granted, like, yeah, could I have come back and gotten Resil boosted from my friends? Probably, but that's not really what matters, right? It's more so like the level of difficulty that's going to be. But again, we still love it and we still are excited for it because we know how good that's going to feel when you get it, right? Like, when you actually get it and you actually spend time in M+ and you make buds and also, I pointed this out on stream as well. A lot of people are like, oh, how do I find a group, or how do I ask people, or people say no, blah, 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 right? This is like the ultimate easy mode thing to say to any of your guildies, any of your friends, anybody you meet in LFG, right? Hey, like, I want to start pushing keys. I want to get this 1% title. You want to play more together and try and get it, right? Like, now you have, it's literally like the freest, easiest pickup line, quote unquote, for WoW that you can ever have now, of just, there's a huge excuse to create teams and make friends in your skill bracket right now. And you have it, and you can just say, hey, let's try this. And there will be people that will say yes.
So, Squishy, something you alluded to is there might be a counterpoint where some people believe that this is not good, right?
There are people out there who do not see this as a benefit. I think that is the hot take here, safely. And I don't know the crux of the argument. I definitely saw it a lot on like social media. Loud, in my opinion, I think they're unfortunately the loud minority in this case. But I think I will need your help, but my understanding is it's basically like all this does is it kind of creates more toxicity and like LFG, and it's harder to get into groups because it can't be pugged or something like that.
I saw something about gatekeeping mounts was, I think, the big thing that I saw.
So there's two different camps, right?
Okay, thank you,
There's the one obvious camp, which is, I want the mount and I don't want to do this, right? Which is basically everybody in WoW nowadays, of the give me that, I don't want to do anything for it crowd. Right. And so if you're somebody who doesn't play Mythic Plus and doesn't want to do high keys, but you want to have every mount and you don't want anyone to have any mounts that you don't have, then you're going to be annoyed by this. That's one factor. A second one is the idea that it's going to bring a lot of people into Mythic Plus, into very, very challenging content that don't actually care as much about being good at the game and challenging themselves. The idea that, for example, let's say that it's Resil 20 that you need to get, right? Well, all you need is one friend in your guild to get Resil 20 and slip into the 1% title. And now you have infinite tries of that key level in LFG to terrorize, right? So now it's going to be a lot of like duos and trios with people who, quote unquote, don't deserve to. I'm not saying this. I'm saying this is the viewpoint of people, right? That there's going to be a lot of people that don't deserve to be there, that didn't put in the effort and didn't work their way up. And then everyone is going to be ramming their heads into the wall with the resilient system, just trying to time the keys. And so they're basically like, I almost think that that's an underestimation of how hard it's going to be, because I think like if you're a more casual person and you don't care about getting good, I don't think you'll be able to get it. Like I think it's going to be pretty hard. Like your random run of the mill like collector guy who doesn't want to sim their character or doesn't care about their damage rotations or isn't like looking at dungeon routes and streams, I don't think they'll probably be able to get in this 1%, even with resilient keys or people helping them.
I think people are just going to need to make do with the fact that this might be something that they don't get. And that is going to be really hard for some people. I mean, it's always kind of interesting to me because people have made peace with the fact that they are not PvPing. Whether that be for Glad, for Elite, or for whatever, or just not doing PvP entirely.
Yeah.
But the second it's Mythic, like raid or PvE content, it's like I need everything. I need to be able to get everything, and I think people are going to need to make a decision here because I don't see any way with the reception that Blizzard got from this that Blizzard is going back on this decision.
I'm 10 out of 10. I'm all in. Like I think that this is a fantastic change. Like
it's a great change.
I think they cooked.
But like I'm okay. I don't know that I'm going to want to do the 1% title. And mount. Like
I mean that's a season long.
I'm sure you guys will.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm sure you guys will, but like I'm happy doing my 16s, and then I'll get my stuff done and then I'll be all right. I had fun. I pushed a little higher this season. Cool.
So that I think is actually the best part of this announcement is that they had two things for people who are Mythic Plus enthusiasts to do. There's the season long grind, the 1% grind, but there's also 3400, which is like if you do the earlier in the season that you do it, the more challenging it is, but it's still a static grind. And I think that's why.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I like static grinds. If the 1% was instead like, I don't know, 3600, 3800, there was probably a higher chance that I would go for it. I don't like chasing moving goalposts and the top percent stuff, but that's just my personal preference. And I have nothing to chase. I have nothing to prove, so
yeah. That's valid.
I'm happy with it.
Okay, Growl.
There's definitely, I mean, I think there's both, right? There's something to be said for like, relative to the player base and having your competition, but it's also like, very understandable to be like, I want to know what I'm getting myself into before I sign up for this, right? Like just the idea of, well, it might be literally the same thing, and this might be an idiot cat with a waffle on his head going off for no reason, and it might be, oh, just do keys and you get the thing, right? Or it might be the hardest thing ever with infinite sales and competition. You don't even know, right? You have no idea what it's going to be before you go into it, so you just kind of gotta, play it by ear and wait and see.
There's a really funny world where the 0.1 and the 1% are the exact same like score. I don't think it'll happen, but there's a funny world where that is the case.
Dude, there are some terrible keystone jumps. Like it's always kind of gated behind your hardest key because then you get the resilient bump. So like this season would be like what, Algathar Academy?
It's probably Alg.
Yeah, so you're gonna have people in the 1% title needing to snap birds, and then you're gonna have people in the 0.1% title needing to snap birds, and then they're gonna need to be doing like crazy shit into bosses.
Yep.
And it's like I think there's just like kind of levels to the strats that are going to be deployed, I think, at the keystone breakpoints that are going to allow things to be timed versus not.
It's crazy because they extended that timer, and I don't think they did it enough compared to every other dungeon.
That dungeon's hard. Now, Growl, something that you said is about the impact of the resilient key system on the 1% title. What do you think that they're going to hit a level with the resilient system where the people who are pushing for that start to recognize why it's unfun, or do you think it's not going to be high enough yet?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely they will. I think as soon as the limit to your progress is how good you are rather than the time that you have to spend, then I think you right away. Not everybody, right? I'm not saying everybody agrees with me on like there are people who push high keys now that are like, like JB, for example, right? He loves resilient keys. And it's not to say that it's good or bad, right or wrong, but I think a lot of people experience the upsides of it without the downsides, right? Where their restrictment was already their time. And so they were like, okay, well, resilient keys don't really change the way I interact with the system that much. It just helps me spend a little bit less time in homework keys. But once you buck up against the wall of like, okay, I need to do this key that's hard for me, then you really start to feel, which, I mean, it's interesting to see though, because maybe these will be people that have never known what it's like on the old system though, right? They don't know what it was like to have 5 kings rests that are all 17s and all you need is 18 of another dungeon. And it's like, We'll see, I guess, but I definitely think there will be more people and more talks about the system just based off the fact that more people are going to be doing high keys inherently.
It's all fun and games until you have 4 Grim Battles.
Yep.
I also want to point out, actually, there's been a very distinct lack of nerfs this season compared to previous seasons, which there's nothing wrong with it, to be clear. But just like the difference between the tuning this season, for obvious reasons, we don't have, the massive tuning swings going into a weekly reset. We got like a small nerf to Alg, we got a small nerf to Mysara, some bug fixes here and there,
Lura.
some tech fixes here and there, and that's it, right? Like,
you're talking only Mythic Plus?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the timers are so generous in pretty much every single dungeon. Like, I don't even know what you would nerf.
It's so interesting, though. Would you prefer the current state where they barely have to nerf anything, but things are easier, or the previous state where the things are too hard and they slowly nerf it over time?
Well, when you say things are easy, I mean they're not easy when you're doing 19s, right? They're only easy. To be clear. Well, my point is this, right? The reason that they quote unquote need to nerf it is because people doing 10s and 12s get slaughtered by it, right? Like even the little things they changed were like the last boss in Algathar and the timer in Algathar, because even at 10s or 12s, people were getting slaughtered by those, right? Because they were not as forgiving as everything else. So I think that when it comes to like living and that stuff with high key, like it's kind of weird, right? Because with high keys, there's always going to be this fine line of like, you need to play these specific classes at some point. You need to use these specific strategies or play this specific way as you go higher and higher up. And that's always going to happen regardless of what they fix. So I think that, I guess it's just kind of maybe goes to say that they're like inter-dungeon balance, like how the hardest dungeon versus the easiest dungeon is a lot closer than it was before, if that makes sense. Like, I think that's why that they won't, as long as that's intact where, like a 22 key of one key is super easy, and then a 20 of another is still insanely hard. As long as that doesn't happen, which there's a history of that happening, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, also with Resil keys, it also kind of changes that a little bit because you get way more like infinite practice and attempts on keys. Like if one key for instance, Priory, who knows what it would have looked like, right? If you couldn't just run your head into Resil and get pushed up immediately after. Like you have so many more attempts on a hard key that it maybe makes it appear less hard. But I'm not really sure if that's how much that plays into it versus just them being better at balancing the dungeons.
Yeah. Okay, Growl, you brought up a post from the comment section in our group chat. I have been thinking, this has been living in my head rent free. The past couple of days.
Yeah.
You want to hash this one out first? Because I think you brought this up. I was like, holy shit, this guy. This has literally been living in my head rent free for days.
Yeah. There's a comment on the last pod, and there were a lot of comments that are like this. Was the replayability of the game is greatly reduced? Yes, and thanks for it. I want to play 100 hours of WoW a season and not 500. Let me play 70 to 80 hours, get full bis, push as much as I want, and then take a break and play other games until next season. And I think that is... like a lot of people are nodding their head to that, right? Like a lot of people are like, this fits the way I want to play WoW. And I don't think I've gone on this rant on this pod, but I apologize if I have. But there's a podcast from a guy who I think is like somewhat tangentially related to RuneScape and Ghostcrawler, who's like an ex-WoW and then now Riot, or maybe not Riot any. Basically a big bad game dev guy who's really good and really smart. And he's also talking to another guy named Isaiah Cartwright, who was actually somebody I knew, who was someone who worked on systems design and game balance in Guild Wars 1. And he said that when it comes to MMOs, one of the most important foundational questions you have to ask yourself is, how many hours am I designing this game for? Because if you want a game that's going to hold your attention for 1,000 hours and let people really get deep into it, it's going to be really hard to onboard new players. Like you are building the game to be made for a 1,000-hour player. And so somebody who's a 100-hour player is going to feel like they're missing out on something or they're behind. Likewise, you can make a game that's very solid for a 100-hour player. I'm talking about like total hours in the game, but someone who wants to play 1,000 hours very likely is going to get bored and quit your game, right? And that's always really, really stuck with me. And the more that I see the changes that WoW makes, the more I see that to be true, right? Like as a 100-hour player, if you only play 100 hours in a season, you see like the crazy mythic raid or the high keys and the full bismuth track gear and all this stuff, right? And you want that, but you don't want it enough to like stick around and play 500 hours, whether you can or cannot due to life circumstances, right? We're not saying everybody can be unemployed. But then that takes away from that, right? If you give all of this stuff to a person who only plays 100 hours, then the person who plays 1,000 hours says, well, what do I do with hour 101 all the way through 999? And the 100-hour player says, well, to be honest, I just don't really care. Like you just go off and do whatever you want. Just go do Mythic Plus for nothing. Go refarm the same raid for nothing. I don't care, right? Because this is, and
it doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect me, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but ultimately these things are at odds with each other, right? The people in the comments are, or are more often 100-hour players, and us as terminally online, unemployed
Speak for yourself.
podcast people, right? We play lots of hours
for
and
me
we
as
want
well.
the game to be designed for us. And that's like, I don't know, that's just how it is. And it's not to say that one way is better or worse or wrong or right, but this is just, I'm pointing out, like, I'm almost trying, the community wants me to speak for them, right? The 100-hour players want me to speak for them to say that this is good for the game, but also I'm speaking for my brothers who are living in their parents' basement at age 35. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's right. Represent.
I mean, for me, I think there's like, I don't know how Blizzard gets a balance between building something for the 100-hour player and also the 800 player, right? That's the hard part, because any time in the past when they've built for the 800-hour player, they don't exactly, the 100-hour player feels incentivized to do all of it, right? Like, and that is the hard part, I think, is they always seem to have to choose one or the other. And as of recently, they've been choosing, in my opinion, more the 100-hour player.
Right. And to be honest, like, you can argue from both sides, right? Like, you can say the 800-hour player can say to the 100-hour player, just play the same game for 100 hours, it's still fun, right? Like, for example, in classic WoW, somebody could level from level 1 to level 30 and then quit the game, right? And then they might have fun and they might have enjoyed that. But at the same time, like, there was so much more to the game that the developer spent time on, that if they had instead spent all of their time on making a great level 1 to level 30 experience, it would have been better for that first player, right? And then the same goes for the 100-hour player, is he could say, well, just play the game. Like, the game is still the same. Like, if play it for 100 hours and quit, or if you want to play it, then play it, right? They're looking at the 800-hour player asking, what are you even complaining about at this point? Like, either play the game if it's fun or don't play it.
Yeah, dude, I was talking to an IRL buddy, and I used to raid with him like forever ago, and he's basically just been living his best life. And he came back to the game recently and started playing, and we were talking about the state of the game, and he goes, it seems like Blizzard has just chose to go the fully seasonal route and embrace it, which is fine. It's just not going to be a game that most people play for more than a few weeks. I think they made a perfectly fine lobby game with all the UI controversy stuff aside. And then he goes, WoW used to be a time grind without the skill requirement, and now it's kind of flipped. Legion was kind of where they managed to capture both ends of the spectrum, but now it's a little bit different. And I think that, dude, whenever he said that to me, I was sitting there thinking about it, I was like, damn, he is 100% right.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only caveat that I would add, though, is that it's a skill grind, but you don't get rewarded in game for skill other than cosmetics, right? It's not a skill grind in the sense that the best players have the best gear. Right. It's for okay, this is right. Title's brought up the Keystone Myth title again. Yes, from a cosmetic point of view and achievement point of view, it is. Like, it definitely is a game that heavily favors the technical aspect more than the planning aspect or the strategy aspect, or the time aspect, right? But at the same time, like, even if you're adult and you're using the one button rotation and you're not caring, right, you still will be in full mid-track gear pretty soon, right? Like, it's not it's rewarding the skill. It's rewarding the skill player with mounts and achievements, which almost is like a little bit weird and backwards, right? Like, why would that person care about that? But it's the best they can do with the situation that it is in the game, right? Like, it does feel like you need to have the gear to experience the game. So this is an option. I like, to me, as long as they're going down this road of adding more progression stuff, like for example, the turbo boost in the 0.5 patch, while I don't love it, I love the timing of it because it's so early, right? Like even the sweats like us are getting to the point where we are full bis, and now it's already here, right? As opposed to, the turbo boost coming 3 months into the season and it feeling like you're sitting there for bis gear for 2 months and then you have to come back and farm 12s for whatever, reason. I think that the pacing of stuff with the 0.5 patch is actually quite good. And I think that adding these rewards, like the 1% mounts and stuff, I think is also quite good. I've actually become a lot more optimistic about the way, like now that I see the full plan in action and see everything play out, I have a little bit more faith in the system. But again, while I would love a super grindy mess of a game, this is, I think, good for the lobby type of player, or the people that enjoy the raids and enjoy the dungeons still.
Interesting question, though. You know how we were praising Turbo Boost the first time it was done, and we were praising Faded the first time it was done?
That's so funny. Yeah.
Are we gonna come back, they do this fucking thing next season, and be like, I cannot believe they're doing bonus rolls again. It was fucking dog shit. They should never do it again. Like... Is that what's just going to happen?
I think so. I actually think that the reason that this is about to be sick, I think that the Void Forge bonus rolls are going to be fucking sick. I think that this entire season is going to hit diff, and it's going to feel great for multiple weeks, even more so than we thought it originally. And I think the reason that it's going to hit is because it's new. This is something we've been talking about for a while. The fact, if they give us something new, we love new and novel things. Whenever we were given the same turbo boost 2 seasons in a row, we're like, well, that kind of sucks. But you're giving me this cool, unique bonus roll system, which is badass. Like, yeah, this is what I wanted. Do I want to do it again next season? No, not really. But I do want to do it at least one time because I think it's going to be sick.
Maybe. I think it's a little different because it's part of the progression, right? Like, I think the difference there is when we talk about the faded season or the turbo boost, those are like after everybody's dead and gone, and no, like if you don't care about your character progression, you're not still playing the game, right? Whereas now I think most people are like just winding down, but mostly still gearing their character and doing stuff. And I think that's the slight difference that I would add is like, it's a part of the progression, right? As opposed to Turbo Boost, which was just thrown in. Like, it felt great the first time because it was thrown in because it was like a random reason to log in and play the game and everyone was playing, and it was a little bit more novel. But now it's like, well, you're just making me randomly log in 3 months into the season, or you're going to get this, but you're holding it above our heads and it's time gated. Whereas this one is still time gated, but it's much, much faster, right? Like you get into it while you're still caring, while most people are still caring about what you're going to do in Mythic Plus and what you're doing in the Mythic Raid.
Yeah. Yep. You have anything to add on that, Squishy?
I think this one has a chance of being, more than one. Because I think the reception of this has been slightly different, but it's still very TBD, I think. So we'll have to see. I could see myself, because of how early it is, enjoying this for more than one season, essentially.
I think it's tough because I think it's tough to do effectively because it nullifies the hero track gear so hard. Like, it is
as if Hero Track gear wasn't already useless.
Well, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like, it has taken Heroic Raid and Hero Track gear and basically just killed it.
People in the Racer World first were talking about crest guys and the idea of having an alt that had max Hero Track gear on. Was that the second week of the season?
Yes.
Like that. It's a little silly, no?
Yeah.
Fucking hate it.
Something that they also announced related to the bonus roll system is that now you're actually able to convert tokens of merit to one bonus roll, which I high rolled. I took tokens of merit on my evoker like 4 weeks ago, and I still have them sitting in my bags. I never converted it to a socket, so I'm happy. But
I was thinking about that because on my mage, on a lot of characters actually, I had taken a socket on the first week because you can't get any myth gear on the first week, right? It's not like we got a terrible vault. It's just you can't get a good vault. But I just recently got a helm that's myth track, so I used those to purchase a socket. And I was kind of thinking, I'm like, wait a second, did if I would have just not bought this socket or not got this myth helm, I would have the tokens in my bags, and then I could buy another bonus roll and I could buy another myth track item with that.
Now,
like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I actually think they fucking nailed the timing on announcing this, because any earlier, people would have been pissed.
Yes.
And any later, people would also have been pissed. So
I thought about that too. I'm like, well, I'm not that mad. That was basically my conclusion, was like, well, nobody else knew this or did this, or this wasn't something that I could have planned around, so I'm not mad. So yeah, I 100% agree with you that they specifically did not talk, because we were kind of like saying this too, right? We're like, there's not really like that much information. It's like you can upgrade a weapon and some trinkets and like, but we didn't fully understand how everything worked and how this stuff was going on, and I think they did that on purpose now in hindsight.
Yeah, which is I think it was good to do it intentionally. Now, something I have seen, especially related to taking the tokens of merit, is how it interacts with the vault. If you get like a bad vault from Mythic Plus, now you always have something to get, like a piece of
which
gear.
is good.
Yeah.
You've hated the fucking pity system forever.
Well, I think the pity system sucks. I also think the Great Vault isn't fantastic. I don't know if this is exactly better, but it's certainly moving, I think, in the right direction.
Okay, fair.
I like that there's some gamba to it. I think one funny thing that Blizzard has tried to avoid is the idea that, okay, here's Trinket Day and everybody logs in and just buys their best trinket, right? Like there was all that conflict during War Within about, oh, you need to have these boss kills and all that. And like, and I think now their version of that is like, well, it's a bonus roll now. So like, you know, I mean, in my opinion, loot when it's random feels just better, right? Like if you just walk up to a vendor and buy something and it's deterministic, it's just less exciting. I get it makes the game easier to play, but you know, like then you lose that feeling of like, oh, I got lucky or I got this loot, and it's, you know, but at the same time, it is, you know, deterministic where over time you will eventually get your stupid item that you want, unless it's in one of the dungeons with 14 items on the loot table, and then you won't get it.
This is strangely more targeted gear-wise than the Great Vault, and I think that I wonder if that's going to create for like a weird play pattern from players.
Oh, also one question that I had was, how does it work for items that you don't bonus roll? So, for example, let's say I've gotten all of the voracious items except for the ring from my raid leader. Does that mean those aren't on the bonus roll token?
I'm pretty sure they are. I'm pretty sure it was like items that are received this way or something like that. I'm pretty sure you have to bonus roll it.
Squishy, this is you.
After receiving an item in this way, it is removed from that loot pool until all eligible items have been obtained on a per difficulty basis.
I assume you have to bonus roll it, otherwise it'd be this weird thing of like trying to game the system, and I don't think that would be fun, frankly.
That's what I was wondering, but I foresee people complaining about bonus rolling a myth chest, and they literally have the chest.
It's a knockout system, man. Go fucking, like, dude. I cannot with people. Sometimes, like,
I know. Wow, it's your God-given right as a WoW player to complain, I think.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, other really cool stuff. There was a Max interview with Scott and then a couple of game devs from Blizzard, and by far the headline announcement from this is that the Sporefall boss and patch 12.0.7 will have a flex mythic difficulty, which I have seen, I would say, a lot more negative opinions or maybe hesitant opinions about this than I anticipated from reading it the first time. Whenever I first saw this, I thought that most people were going to be like absolutely stoked about this. I mean, Squishy, you want to kind of explain what's going on here?
Sure. I mean, basically, Blizzard announced it's a one boss raid coming in 1207. And Blizzard announced that it can be done on Mythic difficulty with 15 to 25 players. and the fights will scale based on that. It's not 10 men like some people wanted, but 15 is kind of up there still. And you can either go in with your full 25-man roster, your 24-man roster, or if people are absent and people don't want to play the 1207 patch, you can kind of just go in with 16 or 17. I think this is awesome. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I'm like definitely for this. This is something that if you go back to beginning of War Within, when we started to kind of see Blizzard act more unpredictably with their releases, and they did Plunder Storm, and then they did this, and then amazing systems like the Dastardly Duos. Like, we wanted them to keep iterating and keep trying different things, and I think this is a great example of them not only trying something new, but also sticking to the theme of what people like, right? Like, one of the biggest complaints about, say, Plunderstorm was that, like, okay, I play WoW because I like dungeons and raids. What the fuck is this, right? Whereas this is like a raid boss that's coming out. This is like literal content that's coming out in the patch. Also, I like the target of this too, right? Like the idea of it's a flex raid that doesn't quite, like, not quite as rigid. Everyone's been using the words accessible lately with everything, but I think this actually applies here, where there's no lockout, there's no set number of people required. Like, it will still feel like, I bet, like, oh, you need one of every raid buff and all this blah blah blah, but I totally like where they're going with this. I'm a little bit against the trend in that I kind of want to see this thing be difficult. I don't, because I think the point of this is, if you're a heroic guild, or like, not, or let me rephrase, if you're not somebody that's in a mythic guild, but you want to experience a mythic boss, right? That's sort of, in my opinion, the purpose of this, sort of, from
Okay, I understand what you're saying now. Yes.
Right. And so heroic Lura already exists, right? Like, these easy, like, world bosses already exist, right? Like, if you want to just go and hit a target dummy and get your loot pinata, these things already exist. So the purpose of this, in my opinion, should be like, hey, let's expect to spend multiple hours or a whole weekend or like some amount of time in beating this. I'm not saying it should be 300 pulls, but if this thing ends up just being a loot pinata world boss that drops a myth track piece, I think that they missed the mark there. Like, I think that's what Chimeras could be if they wanted that, right?
What about like dragons? Like, same difficulty as dragons?
I think harder.
Harder? Okay.
Close, though, close. Because keep in mind, dragons is like, for a coordinated group, dragons is not that hard. But for a pug, like, for example, dragons is an interesting example, because you really, like, a lot of people have a lot of jobs on that fight, and you need to know what to do, right? Like, if you don't know where you should go with the certain breaths, and you're not paying attention, you're gonna fucking wipe everybody with those breaths until you learn to do the mechanic, right? And I think that's sort of the, like, yes, right? Like, there should be multiple hard parts and like things required of you other than just hitting the boss and pressing your healing buttons. And I think dragons is close to what I would picture it as, right? I'm not saying it should be mythic Belo'ren or mythic mythic Lura or whatever, but I think, like, in that area between dragons and even like Illyria level difficulty, I think would be quite interesting. The problem is, so it's a flex raid size, right? So it's 15 to 25 people. So they have to, and it's also a one boss raid, so they're sort of like making it more introductory. They have to be very careful and precise about what mechanics they put in, right? Like, if they set it up for, oh, if you have 19 players, you get 3 soaks, but then if you have 20 players, you get 4 soaks, and the fight becomes way harder, and everybody just does it with 19 people anyway, then I think they've missed the mark, right? So they need to be careful with not only the difficulty, but the types of difficulty that they choose for the fight.
Yeah, I think that that is by far the biggest point of criticism about this entire thing, is the reason that Mythic was created back going into Warlords of Draenor was because of flex sizing and the implications on flex sizing on the hardest difficulty and the most rewarded, let's say the most rewarded difficulty in the game, right? The pinnacle of World of Warcraft rating. And it's like, take a fight from this season, even, where Vanguards, where if you have like 10 people, I'm pretty sure you get 3 of the I don't call them Empyrean Hammers, but I'm pretty sure that's not the actual name of the ability. The group soaks. You get like 3 of the group soaks. Whereas if
Executioner Sense.
That's exactly what it's called. And whereas if you have 30 people, you get 6. And then there's if you have 29, you only get 5.
You get 5.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, that's kind of the weird stuff. And do you remember Sylvanas, Squishy? Like, Sylvanas has to go down as like one of the hardest raid bosses of all time on Heroic, especially week 1, where I want to say like 110 guilds killed it, like some unbelievably low number. But there was a hack on Sylvanas Heroic, and it was that you only had like 17 people in your raid, and it's like, and then you got like way less chains or something like that. It was like a ridiculous change, and that I think has been the biggest point of criticism for that. But I think exactly what you identified, as long as they make sure that they design mechanics in a way that doesn't allow you to get abused by the 25 to 15 player stuff, I think that this is way more positive than it is negative. I've also seen some people say that they don't care about this. Why don't they just have no loot lockout or whatever for Mythic Raid, where you can pug people and jump in and out? I actually think that flex raid size is a much, much, much bigger deal for the future of Mythic raiding than the lockout stuff. Obviously, the lockout stuff is relevant, but I think if there was like a singular change that would get more guilds into Mythic raiding, I think that it is certainly something like this. Does this work on a larger raid? Probably not. I think for a one boss raid as well, this is fantastic. I mean, it's good for the pre-established Mythic guilds that have how many guys do you have on your guys roster? We have 26.
Yeah, we have at least 24.
We are like 20. We are running slim this tier, like 22 or 23.
We're gonna have everybody pretty much in the raid. There's gonna be one person that's sitting, but like
we are hella slim this tier.
Yeah, like that allows all of our guilds to pretty much play everybody, which is sick. And then for the people that struggle to get into Mythic, this gives them something. Obviously, it's not as exciting as them being able to do the Void Spire, Chimeras, or something like that. But I do think that this is positive, even though I have seen some negative sentiments about this. I do think it's overall a very positive thing. It's then on Blizzard to make sure that it's not some negative cringe thing, because the worst thing that you could have happen is that the fringes, the 25 or the 15, are the optimal raid size, and like then you have to be sitting so many people from your raid, or somehow the boss is only doable at 25 players, and this 15 player group can't basically kill the boss. Like those are the things that you worry about the most, but that's on Blizzard.
Well, I think you brought up the idea of the future of raids, and I think that this is where a lot of people might be going wrong, and where I might want to stop you or interject is, I think the problem of like, oh, you can't design mechanics around flex size, I think will just exist, right? And I think that they will not go to 10-man. Like these are facts of life, I think. And so a lot of people are talking about this as if it's Blizzard's testing ground into making Mythic raid flex size or doing that, but I don't think that's the case. I think this is simply just a testing ground for them watering in different types of content that is highly related towards raid and Mythic Plus. So I think that like there's this idea that I heard that's like, oh, it's going to help bridge guilds that can't quite get into Mythic raiding. But like, how is this going to help? Like, let's say you have a guild with 16 people, and then, okay, now you do this boss, and then now what, right? Like, how does this boss help you get, like, this doesn't change anything. But I will say that I bet there are a lot of guilds that get AOTC and are kind of like, hey, I'm having fun. I wish there was more stuff to do for me that wasn't Mythic Lura, right? And this is for them. This is just another boss for those people rather than a bridge to Mythic raiding, I think.
Dude, I was in like 2 guilds that were like this, where we're going to be starting Mythic next week. We just got to recruit a few more people. We're going to be starting Mythic next week, and we're just got to recruit a few more people. And Mythic never came for those guilds. Yeah. I left far before Mythic ever came for those guilds.
That's like a huge meme in the heroic rating AOTC scene is Mythic soon. Because if you're a guild that's doing Mythic, like that's a huge commitment, right? So the idea that a guild that is not doing Mythic can just do something to then therefore jump into Mythic is just not really a thing. I mean, it happens. I'm not saying it never happens, but no, yeah, that was a scene I was very well familiar with, because back in BFA, you pretty much needed raid gear to do keys, right? Like raid gear was very, very good. And also my druid was not what I played in raid. And so very often I would sit in Group Finder looking for these guilds that are short people trying to do Mythic and pug like some amount of bosses, like anywhere from 1 to 4 bosses in the Mythic raid. So yeah, I actually raided with a lot of this type of guild. And I don't like, yeah, it'll be something fun that those guys can do, but it's also kind of an interesting thing to thought too. Like, imagine if Chimeras was like this, right? But it was like a hard boss. Like it could almost be like an out. Like imagine your guild has a very important person that's gone. You can just be like, hey, okay, on this day we're gonna prog this other boss or kill. Like at least we can use our time wisely when this person is gone for this day or something. Which is not, I'm sure, their intention, but it's kind of an interesting thought. Again, kind of like this season, how guilds are finding different ways to use the split lockout to their advantage.
How many pulls do you think this boss should be for around our level?
I think
it's gonna be different for
raid
people.
nights. I think 2 raid nights, so like 60.
60 pulls? Okay. Tittles?
I'm a little bit lighter on this fight. I was thinking like 20.
Really? Okay. I'm thinking somewhere like around, like, I think around Growl, but I could see it going a little lower, like 40.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
I think
think-
realistically that's the best mark for them to hit would be where Squishy says like 40. Like I think
This-
60,
this is-
I'm shooting high, but
I think this is like, this is the perfect opportunity. The fact that they did it on this raid makes me think that they're going to try to avoid any kind of weird scaling issues. Right? No extra, like you said, no extra execution sentences, no weird stuff like that.
Yeah.
They're going to keep it as clean as possible. You know, summoning, going up to 24 people summons an extra ad, which means you need an extra DK. Like,
Dude, Illyria 30 man was
none of that,
so
right? Like,
fucking hard too. Like it happens every single season.
like, I think they're gonna try to keep this as static as possible and see how it goes. Because I absolutely think if this goes well, we could see Flex Mythic become a real thing. The problem is it needs to do well. And I think compared to like the Keystone stuff, there is a lot of valid points from multiple sides.
Yeah, I mean, JB kind of has this joke. He says 15 to 25 Mythic Flex rating is a great way to let 5 people on your 20 Mythic 20-man roster know that they're only there because you literally have to bring them. He's not wrong. Like,
here's the thing. A lot of people are gonna think this, right? Who were listening to my comments or our comments about how you don't want there to be cutoffs, right? You don't want it to be, oh, you need 17 people for this soaks or whatever, right? The obvious next part of that argument is, well, why isn't kicking the shittiest person out of your raid always gonna make the fight easier? And the answer is it is, but like that's a you problem, right? That's something that Blizzard can never fix, right? Like if you're a pug raid leader and you have 25 people in your raid, kicking the 10 worst players is always going to make the boss easier. There's nothing you can do about that with flex rating. Obviously, you can scale the difficulty to make each person slightly easier, right? So, but at the end of the day, like that's an unavoidable problem, and like fights are just easier the less people that you have because of coordination and visibility, right? Like even if all 15 of your players are equal, having 15 is better than having 25 of them because there's just less shit going on and less stuff to coordinate and worry about and people to get mechanics. So like that's unavoidable in my opinion.
I think that I've seen a lot of people give negative feedback on this. I am certainly in the let's wait and see camp, but I am optimistic. Yeah. I'm like
I think
7.5 out of 10, and I hope it rocks.
I think if I was designing a flex fight, the things that I want to avoid, obviously, like you said, no scaling mechanics in any fashion. That needs to not exist.
Yes.
In my opinion, there needs to not be a tight DPS check, because there's going to be a tight DPS check on one difficulty and very much not a tight DPS check on another difficulty. I would try to keep it less to a tight DPS check and more towards do the mechanics and you win. But that means you can scale the mechanics pretty significantly up, whether that be soaks or fuck it, Lura symbols, right? Like
Belo'ren.
Lura symbols are actually a pretty, like, if they did Lura 15 to 25 people, that's the exact same thing no matter which side. And that is a type of mechanic that you can do that would work for that kind of mechanic. For flex.
I mean, there's lots of design space, right? There's like bullet hell type things, right? Where you just have to keep yourself alive and min-max your damage. There's personal responsibility. There's mechanics that you get that you have to know what to do with those mechanics. There can be coordination things. Like there's tons of design space, I think. And yeah, you're exactly right with specifically the numbers check, and then also like the anything scaling with, that will get easier or harder. Like I think anything that you can, honestly, anything that you use class or spec specific things they should be careful with. For example, like needing grips or like Immunities is another big one where, okay, if you have 25 people in your raid and 10 of them have an immunity, it might make a mechanic infinitely easier if you can immune through a mechanic, right? So that's just like things like those that they really have to consider and use carefully. But based off of the conversation that Max and Scott had, the encounter designers are way smarter than me at this shit anyway, so I don't even know why I bother.
I think it'll be really fun though to go in the same day. I don't know if there's going to be PTR testing. I kind of hope there isn't. But imagine if there's going to be a semi-blind encounter that everybody gets to go in at basically the same time on a flex difficulty. That's actually kind of sick.
That's very cool. Imagine if the world first is just a pug.
That would be sick.
The end of raid of Liquid's Race to World First due to
Holy shit.
XXX Blaze It Guild 420 XXX or something.
Loses to Drogo's pug raid on Friday.
All right.
Oh, it reminds me of something else from that interview too. Scott brought it up, kind of tongue in cheek, the idea that they seem to have stepped back the how would you say, like the visibility or how easy it is to see stuff on the ground.
Oh,
if you remember during Undermine tier and War Within, they were very clear with outlining every single mechanic and making everything more like, I don't want to say up to date, but just making things more visible. Like you can always look at your feet and know if you're going to get hit or not. And they kind of just stopped that again in this expansion. And a lot of the raid mechanics were purple on purple on purple again, and stuff is different. And it's funny because I know from previous experience that that's just like, that's something that they want. Like I think a lot of M+er people are the people that don't see the design aspect of it. They think just make everything super visible, just let me stare at my feet and stare at my party frames and just live, right? But part of encounter design is having you look around the room or having things being easier or harder to see or whatever. And obviously these difficulties can be frustrating, and I'm not trying to defend every single mechanic, but they basically just came right back at him and was like, yeah, we're happy with that. Like they kind of brought up the idea that we've gone downhill in visibility, and they're like, yeah, we did that on purpose.
I have kind of a take on this. I was literally just talking about this yesterday. I think it's a problem with specifically void raids. Because if you think about Undermine,
I hate purple on purple on purple.
Think of the color palette of Undermine. You have, brown, you have orange, you have red, you have green for toxic shit, you have some purples for purple toxic shit. Like, you just have this wide array. It's so, like, crazy that they can use almost any color and it thematically makes sense. Then you come to Void, and it's purple floor, purple pink, more purple.
Dark blue.
Dark blue. And I think it's just like, I think it worked out so well at Undermine because they were able to do clear outlines while also still fulfilling the fantasy. And Void doesn't allow them to do that as well.
I think Mysaros Caverns has some mechanic that I find it really hard to see. The Rain of Toads from the Soul Eaters. The spammed ground circle. It's that green on green shit that also clips into the terrain. And I'm just like, dude, like it is actually so hard sometimes to see like what is dangerous and what is like not.
For me, it's the stunning circles on the left side of Nexus Point.
Those are
fringe as fuck too. Yeah.
Nexus Point has some very
you get the engineer circle, and you can't see the lightning underneath your feet. You're like, what the fuck is this?
It's all pink on purple.
That was the exact dungeon that made me realize that. Because I don't remember, like, I was just doing that dungeon and I was thinking about it, and I don't remember if it was Dorky or somebody I was playing with that said it. They're like, they really like gave up on the whole making everything telegraphed. And then, so yeah, again, they brought it up on the interview, and they're like, yeah, it is on purpose, right? Like, it's, while we might all not agree with it, and they might be a little bit too annoying in some spots, it is a design decision, right? Like if you were to ask their designers, like they specifically, I'm not speaking for anyone individually, but like they look at games like Final Fantasy or whatever, like Lost Ark, where every single mechanic is like a perfectly organized palette on the ground with clear lines and outlines, and they're like, this looks bad, we don't like this, we don't want this in our game.
There used to be a lot worse ones, the beta too. I remember on the second boss of Magister's Terrace, that little like circle you need to clear was exactly the same pink shape and almost size as the swirly that spawns under you. And so somebody would
Yes,
walk
yep.
into to clear their debuff, a swirly would spawn under you, which looks identical to your circle, and then you would just die. But yeah, the reason I brought that up was because I think I got stunned in Nexus Point no less than 5 times going through that area yesterday.
Dude,
and just like
I think I have a 50% success rate of proccing my cheat death to those frog mobs in Magic or in Mysora's Caverns. Like, what are those?
We also got to talk about the codes in this, man. They've never fixed codes. Codes are so bad.
I'm really a fan of my hunter trying to soak balls on Belo'ren, not seeing where the cone is, and then getting hit and enraging the boss. That's my favorite.
Oh, yeah. Like, they improved swirlies. They were like, I'm so happy we improved swirlies and stuff like that. I mean, I am too. But can we do cones, maybe? Like...
Ooh, two good ones if you haven't run into them yet are the second boss of Skyreach. You know how you soak the beams and then when the beams end, they turn into a cone. If you're close to the center of or like the walls, the cones are deceivingly big and you get killed by those pretty easily.
Really?
Another one is on Nexus Point, the boss
the light dudes.
The dude where you have to go into the beam, there's like an overlap where he does, like, you know how the beam, it disorients you when you first hit it? Like the second beam of the fight or the third beam, it's like in the middle of a tank frontal from the guy that knocks you back. And so like your tank is getting knocked back as the beam is happening. And it's just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, it's like, so, yeah, I don't know. Those are two of them that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, those are for me. It's the Windrunner Spire Phoenix boss. That faint.
Oh yeah,
red,
those are
like code.
Yeah,
that one's
like
so bad.
That one's really hard to see, but I will also say that I think that's the theme of the fight, right? Like they want you to feel a certain way when that intermission is going on, right? I mean, am I wrong? Like I think they want it to be chaos. Like they want it to be not obvious where the cone is because it should just be stay the fuck away. Like, okay, the next time when you're doing that intermission, you have this feeling as I really want to min-max my damage as hard as possible, but I am in bullet hell right now, and I really don't want to die, right? Like, that's the fight, right? That's the whole fight. Like, if all of the mechanics were insanely visible and the tornadoes moved predictably, then that fight would be nothing.
Okay, counterpoint.
Like, that's what makes the fight.
On Ruckran, the third boss of Skyreach, whenever the ad dies, he spawns a circle. You could just stand in it. Like, what are we doing? Are we sure that all of them are intentional?
Fake swirly.
Yeah,
I mean, I like to tell myself, I don't know. You listen to the interview and you're like, holy shit, these guys are smart, right? Every time I listen to these Blizzard guys talk, I'm just like, damn, they're really, really smart and they care a lot about the game. Like, I guess maybe I'm dumb. This is not how I feel. But then after enough keys, I start to grow more and more resentment and build this image in my head of what a Blizzard employee is.
I think we're all... We all enjoy playing the game. It's still like one of those things that it's as a WoW player, you always complain about shitting. You always complain about graphics whenever you get screwed by them.
The constellations in Phase 3 of Lura are also horrific.
Ooh, I haven't seen that one yet. At least in Mythic.
You know what we're due for? We're due for some more trees.
Oh yeah, what expansion was that in Dragonflight Season 1?
It was Ruby Life Pools and Court of Stars in the exact same season where you just got your camera stuck in a tree.
Like Bracket Hide too?
No, that was Season 2.
For people that didn't play that season, basically like everyone zooms their camera out max, but like very clearly they didn't test the dungeons with having your camera at max. And so the way everyone played, there's just trees in your face for like so many pulls, and you just had to like position your camera very carefully. And then you move 1 inch, your entire screen is blocked by a leaf, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Okay, it was 2 out of the 8 dungeons too, which was like the most annoying part because there was like no escape.
I mean, I feel that way about the Lura encounter, like on Seat. Like that boss is actually kind of cool, except for the fact that you're in a tiny ass arena and your camera just pushed in the entire time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is true.
Okay, but speaking of camera, I want to go with my tip of the week. Can you bring that up, Tiddles? So there's this camera script that people have it's become more and more useful recently. It's very good on Belo'ren and Lura specifically, but it's honestly, if you just like playing with your camera, Go for it. Basically, what this does is I'll make Tettles put in the comment, but you run the first script. It zooms your camera further out than is normally possible. The normal I think is 40, and this goes to 50. The only downside is you can't zoom in and out while this is active. But because your camera is zoomed out further, you can see further behind you. One of the most common deaths on both Belo'ren and Lura is to die from an orb or a glaive sneaking up from behind you. And so I'm recommending that a lot of people and my guild use this macro to see further behind them. And then there's a second macro to return it back to normal if you need to do that. But of course, it zooms your camera in.
I miss Manaroth, man. I remember whatever they had. Oh my god, this is before your time, girl. They had camera distance set at 3.6. I think it's like 2.8 now. Oh my god, that Manaroth fight was unbelievable. Manaroth, world first. Wow, you could literally see like the entire platform. It was the most like. And then I'm pretty sure they nerfed the camera because of this boss specifically. But you could see like his entire platform. It is. Look at how small the character is. Oh my god, this guy's character is legitimately so small.
I mean, this one's pretty good too. It's pretty close, I feel like, to the original. Not perfectly there, but it's pretty close.
Yeah. Oh.
All right, that's my tip.
All right, what is this Reddit post?
This is Growl's cope of the week. This is okay. My if I haven't made enough people mad and ingrained myself as a terminally online person, this Reddit thread that was in competitive WoW a couple days ago really grinded my gears. The title of the thread is, "What is the difference between the top 1% and the top 0.01% in Mythic Plus?" And basically, this is like a very common question of basically everything in life, right? It's like, what is the difference between who is good and who is great? And I'm reading the comments, and every single person is coping so hard as if everyone at the top is only there because they have a group or they play all day. Literally, no one is giving this guy good suggestions or good information. Everybody just says the only reason that you need to do the highest keys in the world is just a team. And if you have a team, then just you're doing 0.1 like every single one is just talking about time investment and being unemployed and having a team. And it's just like, you guys can't name one single thing that Evade is doing better than you at. You're just sitting there and in your 14s and you think that you're Psycho Demon Hunter or that you're Dorky Bear Tank and you're just like, oh, I'm doing everything. Like, come on. Like the
oh my god, the top comment is employment is a factor.
Yeah, like the cope is just so real that, like, dude, I just couldn't.
Okay.
Like, come on, at least give the people at the top some level of respect. Like, this game is so catering now towards the people who play less and who are more casual.
Yeah.
Like, you see how far you have to dig through this thread to get a real, like, I don't even know if there's a real answer.
There was one that I saw that was like pretty decent. It was this one that I think that people heavily dismiss player skill. Player skill is by far the number one differentiator. Like it is. All people believe that they're good at World of Warcraft. You can always be a lot better at World of Warcraft. Like it is like one of the things that people all the time believe that they are sick, and you are probably not that good.
This has deeply inspired me to make a video, and by make a video, I mean like write a bunch of stuff in a notepad that never sees the light of day. But I promise it would be a good video if I made it.
Dude, that guy that said exactly 0.9%. That was my like. I was like, there's 10 times more people. Is this a joke? Like, what is this question? And now I understand what the question actually meant. Like,
oh, dude, I mean, it is like literally. How do I even describe it? It's like you're playing collegiate sports, and then it's like the difference between somebody who's playing sports at a collegiate level. That's the 1%, and then the professionals, right? Like,
yeah, bro, I can play in the NBA. Yeah, I'm on a college team, but bro, if they just drafted me, I'd be so good. I'd be so good on the Spurs. Like, bro, shut the fuck up.
What's the Brian Scalabrine quote? I'm closer to LeBron than you are to me. Like, it's like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's so good.
You could put together a sick YouTube video, get 5 people, stick them together. They now have a team. See how far they push. They get title.
Holy shit, that wasn't my idea, but that would be interesting. Holy shit. All right, sign-ups in the comments. If you're somebody who's never gone past 3K, but you want to get 1% and play with everyone and get coached by me, and this is all fictional because I'm never actually going to do this, write a comment, and then I'll match everybody up.
This guy, I mean, this guy's, I think, probably the most on the money take. There's a massive skill gap between the top 1% and the top 0.1%. There's also more knowledge usually. He doesn't really expand on this very much, but that in my opinion is like the biggest deal.
I mean, even just day by day, the amount of tech that comes out, like we now have the bird tech and the bird snap tech on the second boss of Skyreach, which recently came out. We have the bird snap tech in Algathar.
Yeah.
We have God knows what else. We have the reduced damage on the second boss of Algathar with the beams. That still works. I can't think of anything more off the top of my. Oh, the snowball tech in Nexus Point, not really that big of a deal, but it's nice.
I mean, more than anything too. People who are getting the rank 1 title do about like 10% more damage or something, 15% more damage. Like it is like a noticeable a damage increase. And I think the biggest role difference is the tank. Like the tank is more decisive, the tank pulls faster, the pack gets grouped quicker, everything is more seamless, and your tank never dies. Like it is like way different.
No, bro.
Yeah.
If they had more time, they'd easily be a 0.1% title.
Yeah. I mean,
bro, they have all 99s in heroic, man. They have all 99s in the heroic raid. They could easily get title.
If you want like actual advice, I would say like you need to start doing a lot of VOD reviews, and even if you think you're good, there's always more VOD reviews to be doing. Like I've been watching so many Chinese streams, doing log deep dives, watching Kess's stream, trying to figure out how to play this stupid augmentation evoker spec. There is literally, even for like the top of the leaderboard, there is more research that can be done. It is not just networking and employment, although those things, they're important at a certain level, but getting yourself to the player skill that is required to be able to even get the title is, in my opinion, the bigger journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about effort and time. And again, it's a video game, right? Like, we're not saying you have to be 0.1%.
Oh, yeah.
You're somehow lesser for not putting in the effort, but it is really all
that is exactly what
Red
Elk.
Yeah, like this is something where, like, I can't speak for him now because I haven't been on a team with him in a while, but Dorky, I think a lot of people probably, like, his demeanor and the way that he plays, people thinks like, oh, that guy just like fucks around all day and he's just got like a good head for the game. But when I was on a team with that guy, he watches so much Mythic Plus and does so much like sitting in dungeons and testing tech and trying stuff. Like, that guy was unreal. And I kind of learned that from like questioning him and trying to learn, and literally like ask him anything about any dungeon and he would instantly just spit me out a video of like this exact situation that happens and how he learned it and where it, and I'm like, holy shit, like this guy actually does a ton of studying in M+, and he's pugging. Dude, the other day I was like, I turned on Zorthus's stream. Zorthus is Aussie, right? So it's like, 5 a.m, and I just see Dorky Bear healing him at 5 a.m, pugging keys off stream, and I'm just like, bro, this guy's doing 19s on an off roll, not on stream. Like, he just games. Like, you just have to game really hard if you want to be good.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of like asking like, what is the difference between a cutting edge raider and a Hall of Fame raider? And it's just like, holy shit, like I don't know, man. It's like a different. There's like levels to this shit. Okay, Growl's cool thing of the day, not Growl's rant of the day. It's apparently, what is this? The mounts have been announced.
I don't know. I saw that in the show notes. I didn't put that there.
I put that there.
Somebody put that in Growl. Cool thing of the day.
I was going to see what Growl said.
Yeah. I found this, by the way. The mounts have been announced. This is me that I put this in the show notes.
Basically, so basically, while this was going on, like you can see the timestamp. This was like an hour and a half ago, like after we started recording. They announced 14 previous Keystone Mastered Legend mounts will be available. So that's new news. It just so happens there are 14 previous Keystone Master Legend mounts, which means all of them are probably available. The Cerulean Deathwalker is new. That is a recolor. And then the one on the first page, the High Yield Shredder Tank is new as well. That is a recolor of the Shredder Tank.
Okay.
So it sounds like there will be all the old KSM, KSL mounts, plus just some recolors, which, They didn't announce what the Umbral or the what is it Keystone Myth one is yet, or the Umbral Legend or whatever the fuck it is.
God, it's so
So
sick.
we'll have to see.
God, Mythic Clusters
If
are eating good.
If they add at least one new one per season, that or even if it's just a recolor, it's kind of an interesting middle ground, right? Where you'll be able to go back and get specific old ones if you want them, but ultimately you'll never be able to catch up with all of them, right? If they keep at like you won't be able to get all of the old KSM mounts and all of the new ones that they come out with. You'll have to pick and choose, which will make some people happy and some people not.
Yeah.
If they continue making new ones and recolors or whatever.
Oh my god, I just realized we've been recording for like an hour 50 minutes. Okay, let's move on to Q&A. If you want to submit your Q&A,
only an hour 50, bro.
I
The last
know.
Potty C was like 2 hours. I'm like, holy shit, the first 2-hour episode ever.
tweet at the bench wow on Twitter, and we can answer your Q&A. The question for this week comes from North Star. He says, "Hello, bench people. Since Mythic Plus is very easy now, at least on the lower end, and with the 3.4K achievement, presumably it will even get easier. Heroic raid is becoming more and more irrelevant since they can't move Mythic Plus loot to higher thresholds without causing a Twitter storm. Should the last 2 heroic bosses give 1 out of 6 myth in your vault to compete with Mythic Plus, or should heroic raid bosses become easier? How can they possibly fix heroic raid?" Yeah. I mean,
Fix is an interesting word there.
Yeah, fix is an interesting word.
Because inherently, I don't think there's anything wrong with heroic raid. It's just most people care about the rewards and it's not rewarding. Oh,
Continue that thought.
Sorry. I just trolled the shit out of Tettles for context.
Continue that thought. I'm listening to that.
So like in terms of raid itself, I mean, it comes back to the thing that I know Tettles is on board with, is that Mythic Plus is just too rewarding. I don't think there's anything wrong with raid. I think raid is actually a pretty good system. It's just I don't know how to solve the functionality between the two.
I mean, Mythic Plus is too rewarding, but also not rewarding enough, right? Like, I think it needs to become more gradual, and the highs of Mythic Plus loot, you should be able to get myth tracked gear out of Mythic Plus. Somehow, right? I don't think it should be from completion. At the same time, you shouldn't be able to outfit your entire character after like 4 days of taking PTO and doing only Mythic Plus instead of working your job. You shouldn't just then walk into the raid in full hero track gear. That feels weird. Like, I don't know. Also, why in the world is the expectation of doing heroic raid that you have 100% of heroic gear? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, again, it like for the longest time, people have asked for better M plus stuff, right? And like, don't make us raid. Well, you know, making you do something means that you're putting a good reward on it. So when you don't have to do something, then there's not a good reward on it. And now here we are, like we're leaving the world of raid giving good rewards, right? Like the people who are pushing keys early in the season, they definitely feel the, you know, having the bismuth trinkets or whatever and being more geared. But as gear settles, and it settles quicker than ever now, you know, you kind of just like, well, it's not even worth it, right? Which again, if you don't want to go into the heroic raid, if you don't want to go into the mythic raid, you're like, nope, this is great, perfect system. You know, give nothing for this in the same way that you know, you don't want a PvP and you don't want good rewards to come from PvP. So fix is an interesting word, but I definitely feel you that it feels like as soon as Mythic Plus comes out, and because it's so easy, the best thing to do is just slam 10s, and then literally that's the only thing that's worth doing, and then by the time you're done, it's like kind of whatever. Like, obviously, you need to get, what, 1 tier piece, and then your trinkets usually come from raid and ROP. But like, let's be honest, you know, for most people, the way that you interact with the trinkets are you do the boss and then 19 people roll on the trinket and you lose. And then some guy sells it for 500k gold or whatever and you don't get it. So it's like, you know, it's basically nothing, right? So I don't, yeah, you know, in order to make heroic raid worth it or better, like, I don't know about, like, he suggested a myth vault. I just don't think that changes that much. Right? Because, like, you know, if you're like, are you really going to do the heroic raid every week for 1 myth vault slot? I mean, maybe. I guess it's not like out of the question, but I just think most people wouldn't do that if you're already doing 3 keys. You know what I mean?
I think part of the thing right now is like there's kind of there's pros and cons because Raid does have the best trinkets, right? Like that is undeniable.
Right.
And
There's
while
not
that
no
balance
reason to do the raid.
yeah, and right now, like while that balance is preserved, I think it's technically okay. It's not ideal for a lot of people, right? Like, but it's within some four balance. There's a pro and con for both. One, you get more loot. The other one, you get the best loot. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. The issue is the tier where Mythic Plus loot becomes the best. Then there's Raid is literally not best in slot and provides worse loot. Then there might be a problem in terms of the balance of the game, and I think we can absolutely argue that. For this tier, I think it's okay. It's not ideal, but the problem is changing one thing would affect everything else. And I think that's like, you know, if you take away like the infinite loot of Mythic Plus, that's gonna upset a lot of people.
Well,
And how
I
do you
think
balance Mythic Plus then? So yeah.
I think it's sort of that, but it's also just like I think a lot of the gameplay and feedback and feeling loop when it comes from just raiding in general is okay, you kill the boss, what did it drop, right? Like in theory, that should always be when you kill a boss on whatever difficulty, you care about what it drops, right? But it feels like nowadays with raiding, there's like one or two trinkets that you really care about, and you're at the point where you don't even do the other bosses probably unless you're just like bored and you're helping your friends, right? Like you'll literally go into a heroic raid and kill the first three bosses, and no one's even looking at the items that drop unless it like is that one ring that procs avoidance or whatever, right? Or like a BOE because you can sell it on the age to gold. And so I think that they need to find some way to make it so when a boss drops, you think to yourself, "Ooh, what does it drop?" And it's just hard, right? Because then if they do that, then now we're forced to raid, right? Like there's this push and pull that we've kind of been talking about you know, systems and WoW that they're fundamentally, I think it's just a little bit of an uprooting, right? Like WoW is becoming a lobby slash like flexible game where you just get the gear and it's not about RNG and it's not about like, yeah, okay, you might do 500 Algathars to get your one ring, but ultimately like that's affecting you so little, right? Like that you don't have the best stats on one of your ring. And even then you can still craft a ring if you want one that bad, right? So WoW is just moving from a new type of game with a new type of gameplay loop, and people are just kind of like getting used to it. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think there's ever going to be like it was in Classic where you kill a raid boss and every other boss is like, oh god, what dropped? Oh, what tier? Oh, priest tier, you know, like because everybody wants their full tier set on week one and everybody wants is full hero gear on week one, then it's like, well, then they can't have that other, you know, you can't have it both ways.
All right. Any final thoughts? Do we want to cover this
I mean, I
WoW
have to
thing?
give Squishy some recognition for this. At the end of our show notes, sometimes we'll write things or links or whatever for Tettles to slide in. And Squishy, literally, because I had to investigate, throws a Rickroll link at the end of the show notes just to bait Tettles into clicking on it. Like
Yeah.
I feel like the audience might not appreciate the level of which he went for that troll, and the fact that possibly nobody except us three would have known that troll existed. He did that specifically just to troll Tettles in that one moment.
Yep.
And I appreciate that. I just want the people to know that you're doing good work behind the scenes.
Yeah. It's for Tettles, I'll take this episode. You know
I got absolutely dominated. All right. GG's. We'll be back next week.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Later.